I have seen, seems like a million articles about solar panels, solar energy, solar panels, solar energy. Renewable, renewable, renewable. It seems like, woo, somebody has an agenda. So I've been looking, and no matter what renewable energy we use, you have to have batteries to store it. You can't just pump it to people. Like, it has to be stored somewhere. In your cars, it has to be stored somewhere. You don't have a gigantic extension cord from your home and just run all over for hundreds of miles. It doesn't work like that. You have to have lithium batteries. And so I've been looking into lithium a little bit, and it it is terrible for the environment. Getting anything out of the ground is bad for the environment. You name it, it's bad. Digging in the ground, moving dirt, making piles, you're changing topography, how the wind moves, like you're changing everything depending on how big things get shadows so they don't get the sun. Like, no matter what we do, when we get something out of the ground, there's going to be an environmental impact. It's just what is. You can say whatever you want. And with lithium, whoo, it is terribly bad for the environment. Terribly. And as I'm reading, they're going to try to create new ways to get it out that's less environmentally impact. Why? If fossil fuels are bad for our environment, we're using fossil fuels to extract these things. We're using fossil fuels to manufacture these things. We're using fossil fuels as raw materials for these things. So, I think the rich are playing a game, the rich and powerful. I think they're seeing what they can make us fall for, and I think they're driving up prices of certain materials. I didn't realize how much silver was used in processing and creating solar panels. As I'm reading, they're saying, well, people talk about in hundreds and 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 hundreds of years, these fossil fuels are going to destroy us. Well, I've been reading that in 50 years or less, all our silver is going to be ran out of creating all these solar panels. So why are we worried about 300 years in advance, but we're not worried about 50? I, I don't understand why people are so short-sighted and just don't question anything. And like, I've said this in so many videos, question! Don't be like, solar panels are great. What are the raw materials for solar panels? And it's funny when you look up raw materials, it's hard to actually get the raw materials. It's the raw materials of what like they make. That's what they talk about. Like the materials, the actual individual parts, not the actual raw materials you're getting from the ground to make those materials. Because they don't want you to know. They want to keep you in the dark so you're stupid and get them rich. While creating your own demise, as they use more fossil fuels than ever, because there is a reason why God created them. The process I've talked about, the heat, the pressure, like there was a plan. And all these people digging up these bones and fossils, isn't that bad for the environment? Right? All these archaeological digs where they're digging into the earth to get bones out so they can dust off the bones so they can look at the bones and be like, oh, look, the Triceratops had this bone that we didn't know about. I'm glad we spent all that money. What? That's not harmful to the environment. Digging up all this stuff. Oh, no, 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 no. But cutting down trees to make paper, that's bad. Even though they replant and do all this stuff. But no one cares about that. They care about what some loud person says in the corner about don't touch the trees. Kill that person, kill that person, kill that person, leave the tree. Quit being so short sighted. Do a little research. Look up lithium and how it's mined, and how it uses so much water, how it emits several toxins, how it's hazardous conditions to work in lithium mines. What's the difference between hazardous conditions in a coal mine that we know works or hazardous conditions in a lithium mine that we have no idea about because it's relatively new? What's the difference? And it creates all these emissions to create these lithium batteries. Where are they going to go after they're used? Why not stick with what we know versus what we don't know, and it's still messing up the environment just as much, if not more? Why not create better ways to get fossil fuels out of the ground? I know they've been working on it and we're much better than we were 50, 60 years ago. Why not become even better at it? No, we have to do a new way that we're basically starting over 60, 70, 80 years ago, and it's just terrible for the environment. We're going to get better ways. Why? Why? Other than an agenda to make money. When I saw the silver thing, I'm like, son of a bitch. That's what they're doing. With all the, because solar, you don't hear, I mean, a little bit about nuclear, wind, but it's solar, 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 solar. And how do you capture solar power? You put it in lithium batteries, which is horrible for the environment. Creating solar panels is horrible for the environment. But they want to drive up the price of silver. I was like, son of a bitch. That's what their end game is. Wow. Question everything, dumbasses. And I'm looking at myself too. I didn't realize how bad lithium was. Lithium batteries have been around for a long time now. And it's horrible for the environment. We're also naive and short sighted. We need to wake up. Question everything. Make your own opinion. There's, seriously, look it up. You will change your mind about lithium batteries if you truly care about the environment. If you just want to believe in we're all sheep and cattle and they're just going to hurt us wherever they want, then you'll believe whatever they say. It doesn't matter what you read. It doesn't matter. You'll, in your brain, okay, they're right. Because you can manipulate yourself into thinking whatever. It's easy. But seeing the truth, much harder. So please, do some research. Have an original thought. And just because you believe it on the internet, find a couple more sources. If something's like, it's the worst thing known to man, it's probably not. It's the best thing known to man, it's probably not. I've heard if two people have stories, the truth is somewhere in between. And I'm going to say the same thing is with fossil fuels, that the huge proponents for it that it's so great, and then it's so terrible. It's somewhere in between, just like everything else. But it's the devil we know versus all these other devils that they're trying to shove down our throats so they get rich. And they're going to be continuing to use fossil fuels. And you and I know it, even if you choose to trick yourself into not believing that. They will be using fossil fuels while you have solar panels on your house and the price of silver is going up and they're cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Get us more oil, please. Thank you. That's what's going to happen. Correction. That is what's happening.